Welcome to another episode of the Liberated Women podcast. I am so happy that you are joining me once again for another episode of feminine wisdom and droplets and nuggets of all the things that I love to share with you around your feminine awakening and your liberation to the path of life that you want to create for yourself. And I really just want to thank you for every single episode that you listen, that you download, that you share, that you put a review on. It really means the world to me that I share my voice with you and then you amplify that by sharing it with the world and listening and taking part and sharing it with other people. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I see every single one of you in my community as a human heartbeat, not just another number on a page. I really do value you for who you are as a human, as a person in my world who is participating and creating a new path for themselves. So thank you so, so much. Today, I want to talk a little bit more about my personal story with being in freeze response for a really long time and some of the things that have occurred as a result of that, and some of the ways that I've really come into a place of more allowance and trust and comfortableness with my body. And I want to share that with you today because I've been having a lot of conversations with people recently, and a lot of people are stuck in these responses, and it's from experiences that they've had, and they're really struggling to tune back into the trust in their body. A lot of my one-to-one clients have been coming to sessions with these issues, and a lot of women that I speak to in my community, in my circles, have been expressing this. And so I just wanted to touch upon it in today's episode. So for those of you that know, I experienced a lot of very deep trauma when I was very young, and as a result of being in an abusive relationship first and foremost, and then in a car accident in the same year that I had to take that ex-partner to court for actually I had him arrested in the end for racial harassment with intent. He was extremely anti-Semitic towards me. He called me all sorts of disgusting names, which I won't say on here, and said some really vile things. And that was part of the evidence that I had to finally get him arrested, because unfortunately, for any of you that have experienced this, you can't actually really evidence emotional abuse. And he emotionally abused me for 3 years, as well as physically abused me, but I had no evidence to take to the police with that. And so it was only when he started harassing me after the relationship ended that I actually had some concrete evidence to have him arrested. And whilst I was going through a court case, I had a really bad car accident where I had to be cut out of the car. And it took a long time for me to recover. And my body was essentially in freeze mode for a really, really long time. And post those situations, I had a lot of processing to do, and my body was literally stuck. And it wasn't just physical stuckness in my body, it was my inability to make decisions because I didn't trust my decision making. I didn't trust that I was able to make the right choice because I blamed myself for so long. I didn't trust that my voice could be used because my voice had been shut down for so long and suppressed and silenced. I didn't know that I could use it again in the same way that I had when I was younger. And when I was younger, I was in loads of theatre groups. I performed on stage. I was a singer. I was an actress. I loved being in the performing arts. I became a drama teacher for many years, a performing arts teacher. And I really lost the ability to use my voice, to make decisions, to trust myself, and to trust my body. I completely lacked trust in my intuition and in my ability to hold that space for myself. And you might have heard me talk about this before, but I just think it's really important to touch upon this, especially considering some conversations that I've had around with my clients recently and with women in my community, as I said, who come and sit in my women's circles, come to my events, or in my spaces that share conversations with me. And one of the ways that I truly started to trust my body again was when I discovered breath work. And breath work was probably the first port of call for me in my healing journey, where I actually finally felt safe in the hands of a facilitator to breathe in a conscious, connected way that then allowed my body to surrender to the breath and to experience a somatic experience. That means that I wasn't in control of what my body was experiencing. It had nothing to do with my mind. My mind couldn't lead it. It had to be in my body. And from that, I was really then able to learn that my body, that had been trying to keep me safe in all of those situations, trying to protect me from the danger that I was in, and I really was in danger in all of those situations, that actually when I allowed my body to take over and I could start to feel sensations in my bodies, because numbness is also a sensation. And I definitely lived in a state of numbness for a really long time, like numb in my mind, numb in my body, numb in my ability to make decisions, numb in my sense of trust, especially around other people and especially around men. And so when I went to these breathwork sessions, I started to feel sensations in my body that I hadn't felt before. And it was uncomfortable and it pushed me to an edge. It pushed me to new edges that I hadn't experienced before, and it didn't feel comfortable. And yet, the more that I trusted my body and the more that I felt safe in the space with my facilitator, the more I wanted to feel my body, the more I wanted to experience those sensations. Because for most people, we go from these extremes of numbness being one sensation, so numbness and avoidance, procrastination, mistrust, overwhelm, freeze. And then on the other end of that, we want this like extreme experience of pain so that we can actually feel alive. And we really, as women, don't know how necessarily to tune into the subtleness of the sensations that we might feel in our body. You know, when our tummy has a twinge, or our head starts to hurt, or we have a sensation, a tingling, a notion, a feeling, but we're so used to being told to not connect to those emotions and not to connect to those feelings, and to outsource ourselves to other authorities and to other powers. You know, even at school, it's like sit cross-legged, fold your arms, raise your hand when you want to talk. Like, you can't just express, you have to wait your turn and put your hand up. And like, there's a protocol around how you need to conform in a society. And it's bullshit, right? Like, it's total bullshit, because we then don't learn how to trust our intuition and our own bodies. And it really was through starting this breathwork practice of conscious connected breathing with a facilitator that I started to trust the sensations in my body. And I wanted more. I wanted to experience more. And so I was introduced to the world of ecstatic dance and cacao ceremonies and free movement. And I'd never heard of it. I had no idea what it was all about. Obviously, I knew about dancing, you know, at the disco or like a party or a wedding, but not in a sober space where the mask was taken off and you didn't have any kind of inebriation to like give you that false sense of confidence, or to give you any kind of depressant where you could, you know, take more risks, or loosen your inhibitions. And in these spaces, I really then met the next stage of my edge, because I was looking at all these other women and I was like, how is it possible that they're all moving their bodies sensually, beautifully? They look so incredible on the dance floor. They look so liberated. And I still was like, I feel so stuck. I just feel so unliberated. I'm all up in my head. I'm cerebral. I'm thinking. I can't get out of my head and into my body. And I remember one ecstatic dance in particular. I was learning to kind of ask for things, and I was learning about prayer and intention and integrity. And I remember in that ceremony having my cup of cacao and saying to the cup of cacao, like, show me how to surrender. Please just show me how to surrender. And I drank the cacao and we had a meditation and we started to dance. And it was women only in this space. It was like a temple for women, a dance temple. And I just remember over the time that I was dancing, my body started to like loosen up in this way that I'd never experienced before. And my body was starting to glide across the dance floor. And it felt like, honestly, like it felt like I was in, you know, like made of liquid gold, of mercury. It was like I was just gliding and moving and swinging and swaying. And I was like, what is this feeling? I don't know what this is in my body. I don't know how safe this feels. Like I'm not used to feeling so open and so loose and so alive in my body. And it was such an incredible sensation, but I still didn't really know how to hold it. I was still like, my nervous system wasn't really fully attuned to it. And it's really interesting because in my current online journey, Soul on Fire, I held a breathwork journey for the ladies in the journey last night. And one of the women expressed, like, I used to have panic attacks. And when I was in a state of calm at the end of the breath work, it's kind of like my body automatically wanted to go back into a panic attack because that's what I was used to. And I shared with her and reflected with her that yes, when our bodies don't know what it feels like to be in trust and to feel calm and to feel safe and to feel held, like we don't know how to hold that because our bodies are so used to being in a state of chaos or drama, and we're looking for that sensation. So yes, her body might have wanted to go back into panic attack mode because she'd experienced that many years ago, and she didn't know what it was like to hold a sense of calm. And it was the same for me in this dance experience of like, wow, like I get to feel this good in my body. What is this sensation? Like I hadn't experienced it before. And I had to really integrate that and reflect on it. And I took it back to my next breathwork session and told my breath worker, and we worked on it in the session and did some coaching around it, and went into the breath wanting to cultivate more trust in a sense of calmness in the body. And, you know, this is why I'm so passionate about creating safe spaces for women, sober spaces for women to come and experience this kind of edge and to put themselves in situations that might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but knowing that that is forging the path for their liberation. And so when I created Awaken Your Inner Goddess, this is exactly what this event is for. It's for women to come together in a sober space to really unleash the inner primal wild sides of themselves that has been tamed by society because they've been told to be the good girl, to sit cross-legged, fold your arms, put your hand up when you want to speak, silenced, frozen, and feeling really like a lot of fear around what it is to be wild and liberated. I'll remember another breathwork client of mine, like when she got into the breath work with me, the conscious connected breath work in the one-to-one session, her body started to somatically go really wild. Like really, she was taking up a lot of space and she was thrashing about. And I was loving it because I was like, yes, girl, like this is what I want to see. I want to see you express in your authenticity and your integrity and all the parts of yourself that you've shut down, and now you're welcoming, like, and let's welcome it into this space. But she held such a great sense of shame around it, and she was like, I'm so sorry that I look like that. I must have looked like crazy. And I was like, no, you're welcome in this space to be this way, and you're welcome not just in this space, but you're welcome in society to be this way. And whoever told you that you couldn't, like, it's time to forgive that and let that go, because you deserve to be in your wild liberation. And everything that I do in my one-to-ones, in my group journeys, in my women's circles, it's for you to be seen, heard, and witnessed and feel safe to forge the path to your wild liberation. Because I lived for so long in this stuckness, in this frozenness, and I had no idea that on the other side of that, I was going to forge a new pathway for myself to feel liberated as fuck, and to be able to hold that and have the capacity to feel safe knowing that it's okay to be your most liberated, authentic self. So I really, really love creating these spaces for women. And I can't wait for the women who are going to come to this final Awaken Your Inner Goddess of 2023, because This is going to be the best one yet. And we've got so many embodiment practices. We've got goddess yoga flow. I'm running a breath of connection workshop. We have an opening ceremony, closing ceremony, an ecstatic dance journey. And you get a mocktail with your ticket, and you come in and you're going to be welcomed into the goddess temple. Feel like a goddess. Upstairs, we have massage and Reiki, and we've got beautiful women selling their products in the goddess market. And it really is a space for you to come and immerse yourself and to meet your edge and to feel free. And I just want you to know that even if you don't feel in that space now, and even if you're someone that still feels like, oh, how come those other women look amazing on the dance floor and I still don't feel like I can connect to myself, the more that you come to these spaces and the more that you connect with your body in that way, the more you're going to feel comfortable to meet the next evolution of your edge. And it really does, it's like anything, right? It's like you pass your driving test, you feel nervous to get on the road, you might screw up a few times, you might freeze a few times, but the more that you drive and the more that you practice, the more confident you feel on the road until you're a badass driver and they can't say shit about women being bad drivers. And you feel confident, right? And you're like, wow, this is so liberating. Now I can drive to see my friends. Now I can drive to go camping. Now I can drive to the supermarket or whatever it is, that wherever you're going, I can drive myself to awaken your inner goddess. So it's really powerful to be in a space of liberation where you've empowered yourself and you've made those decisions to put yourself in uncomfortable situations that push you to an edge that then allow you to liberate yourself and create a new pathway for yourself. And it takes courage and it takes conviction and it takes bravery, but you are a brave woman. I see you, and I can't wait to welcome you into the next event. It's the final one of 2023. And it's going to be the final one for a while. So come and join us. It's going to go off with a bang. And I really want you to be a part of the party, part of the celebration. Come and Shakti shake on the dance floor, meet your edge, meet other women, and meet yourself. It's on the 25th of November, 2 till 7 o'clock, Norwich Yoga Central. I can't wait to welcome you in. If you want to book your tickets, the early birds, I think, are almost sold out. So get yourself in there. The link will be in the show notes for you to come and join us. Wishing you a beautiful, beautiful day, everybody. I'll see you next week for another episode of The Liberated Woman.